What's going on? You already know what it is. We back with another episode of the Infinite Reps podcast. This is a podcast about the infinite expansion of the mind, the human potential to always be learning. What we do is we deal with different reads, different books. We do have an intellectual conversation about it, and hopefully it can help you progress in your journey along this way. Now, today we're going to discuss The Way of the Superior Man by Deida. The author, he acknowledges that the fact that this book is going to offend a lot of people. Just read a quick excerpt. This book is a guide for a specific kind of newly evolving man. This man is unabashedly masculine. He is purposeful, confident, and directed, living his chosen way of life with deep integrity and humor. He simply lives from his deepest core, fearlessly giving his gifts, feeling through the fleeting moment into the openness of existence, totally committed to magnifying love. The Way of the Superior Man is a book written explicitly for people who have already achieved respect for other genders and sexual preferences, and who consider men and women to be social, economic, and political equals. Now we are ready to move on to the next stage, grounded in this mutual respect and equality, but celebrating the sexual and spiritual passions inherent in the masculine and feminine polarity. What I personally love about this book is that it's very intuitive in the sense that it discusses the challenges that men face. He also explains why things happen the way they happen, especially in your interactions with women, but also talks about being on your purpose and being on your mission. So it's a very practical read, and it's just telling you how you can handle interpersonal relationships a lot better, which if you want to make money, if you want to get more women, whatever the case, whatever your mission is, if you want to live in your true purpose, this is definitely a good read to put things into context. We all have those different parts of masculine and feminine within us. It doesn't matter whether you're in a homosexual relationship, heterosexual relationship, trans relationship, whatever the case may be, you can be in any type of relationship, and these dynamics are playing out. In today's world, 2019, we're dealing with things like the Me Too movement, a lot of gender fluidity. There's a difference between gender and masculine and feminine energy. So no matter what gender you are, male, female, trans, there's 100 different gender classifications out now. And all this stuff is being pushed into the schools. There's so much information. Everybody's looking to get new information. A lot of people are very impressionable. So this book is a guide to understand how the dynamics of masculine and feminine energy play out, okay? You might be a city boy, you might be a city girl, you might have just had a hot girl summer, a hot boy summer, you know what I'm saying? How does that affect your mental state? What's the psychology between all your interactions? Again, whether you want to use this information to make more money, whether you want to use this information to improve your current relationship, whether you want to have sex with more women, or whatever the case may be, this will show you how people tick. What do you know about the psychology of a man or a woman outside the gender roles, outside of what society has told you what a man is and what a woman is? Because the structure has been smeared and smudged and it's been thrown away really in 2019. It's pretty much a free-for-all. So to answer these questions, we need to understand the nature of sexual passion and spiritual openness. Sexual attraction is based on sexual polarity, which is the force of passion that arcs between masculine and feminine poles, okay? The bottom line of today's newly emerging 50-50 or second stage relationship is this. If men and women are clinging to politically correct sameness, even in moments of intimacy, then sexual attraction disappears. I don't mean just a desire for intercourse, but the juice of the entire relationship begins to dry up. The love may still be strong, the friendship may still be strong, but the sexual polarity fades, unless in moments of intimacy where one partner is willing to play the masculine pole and one partner is willing to play the feminine. You have to animate the masculine and feminine differences if you want to play in the field of sexual passion. Now, you may think that this is just about the physical act of sex, but sex and sexual energy is spiritual. It's a driving force. For men, for the masculine man, sexual energy is what gets you to get up out of the bed in the morning. Other than that, everything we do is for women. Why do we go out and get money? Why do we go out and want to be winners? Why do we want to have the best clothes? It's because you want to impress women, and that's a sexual relationship. That polarity, okay, polarity, keep that word in mind. Polarity is important when it comes to the sexual aspect of relationship. Everything else doesn't really require any polarity. You guys can be best friends, but when it comes to cultivating that sexual energy, which is a very valuable tool, Okay, it's not just about the attraction, but that attraction can get you to drive and achieve your goals in life, which is really the point of using information that we're laying out in this podcast in Infinite Reps. It's about infinite expansion of the mind, and we're going to use every single tool that we can to go out and do that and reach our goals. So you don't need this difference for love, but you do need it for ongoing sexual passions. Your sexual essence is your sexual core. If you have a more masculine sexual essence, you would, of course, enjoy staying at home, playing with the kids, but deep down, you are driven by a sense of mission. You may know your mission, but unless you discover this deep purpose and live it fully, your life will feel empty at its core, even if your intimate relationship and family life are full of love. If you have a more feminine sexual essence, your professional life may be incredibly successful, but your core won't be fulfilled unless love is flowing fully in your family or intimate life. So about 90% of people have either a more masculine or a more feminine essence. Passionately, lovingly, and fiercely, they would like to be ravished by or to ravish their intimate partner at least some of the time. This holds true for homosexual and heterosexual people alike. So again, I want to jump back onto this point because again, we live in an age of gender fluidity, and that means you can be whatever you want to be. You just have to say, hey, I feel this way, and this is how I'm going about it. Even in this age of gender fluidity where you can just pretty much say what you are, it has nothing to do with your physical makeup, which is fine. We're not here to judge anybody. You do what you want to do. You be what you want to be. But you still adhere to these rules of nature. Again, sexual polarity. And about 90% of people have either a more masculine or a more feminine sexual essence. So even if you have two homosexual males, they could be very balanced in their relationship, but 90% of relationships have a feminine role and a masculine role. And if you fall within a feminine or a masculine role, you're far to the left or far to the right. There's no, like, balanced relationships are very rare according to the book. This book is great because it goes about explaining about the role between the masculine and feminine, but you can insert whatever relationship you have. You can insert or whatever gender roles that your relationship consists of. You can insert that gender role, and that masculine and feminine energy still plays out every single time. And it's great because, again, it's so practical. You can go ahead and see how your interactions with your spouse or your loved one, whatever the case may be, you can see how they play out. And this holds true for homosexual and heterosexual people alike. Sexual polarity is what makes us tick. Without polarity, the relationship is dry, okay? So as a culture, we have advanced in terms of personal freedom, sexual equality, and social rights, but we have remained spiritually thwarted and afraid. For the sake of individual autonomy and social fairness, with only good intentions in mind, we have erroneously begun to deny, smooth out, and neutralize our masculine and feminine differences. In doing so, people often end up denying their deepest core desires, which are rooted in their true sexual essence. A lot of people today think that they have a balanced sexual essence, but in most cases, they are actually suppressing the natural desires which spring from their real masculine or feminine core. In this age of political correctness, we have made it seem that it's not okay to be in our nature. No matter what your gender is, you can have a very masculine woman and you can have a feminine man. And that relationship will have a lot of passion, a lot of sexual drive. And then the standard relationship is a masculine man with a feminine woman. That polarity plays a huge part. When you suppress your natural desires, your natural inclinations, then you're losing out on a big aspect of life because you don't have that sexual energy. So a couple more things we're gonna read out of here. We'll jump real quick to part one. Part one is called A Man's Way, okay? Most men make the error of thinking that one day it will be done. They think if I can work hard enough, then one day I could rest. Or one day my woman will understand something and then she will stop complaining. Or I'm only doing this now so that one day I can do what I really want with my life. The masculine error is to think that eventually things will be different in some fundamental way. They won't. It never ends. As long as life continues, the creative challenge is to tussle, play, and make love with the present moment while giving your unique gift. Stop hoping for the completion of anything in life. This goes right on with the theme of this entire podcast. We're dealing with infinite expansion of the mind. It never stops. Learning never stops. You're either growing or you're dying, okay? So infinite expansion of the mind. When you tap out, you really fall out of touch with your purpose, and you eventually feel unfulfilled. Now we can engage in distraction. We can engage in entertainment. We can play millions of games of 2K. They're literally going to come out with a new Madden every year. They're going to come out with a new game of 2K every year. But if you are not on your purpose, you're just going to feel unfulfilled at the end of the day. Being on your purpose is hard. Being on your purpose is not easy. It's a grind. It's tough. It's much easier to just engage in entertainment and just turn your mind off. When you really are in your purpose, a lot of times you're going to want to stop. You're going to want to feel like, okay, I got that goal. Once you get that goal, understand that you have to set a new goal. So live with an open heart. This is chapter 2. Live with an open heart even if it hurts. Closing down in the midst of pain is a denial of a man's true nature. A superior man is free in feeling and action, even amidst great pain and hurt. If necessary, a man should live with a hurting heart rather than a closed one. He should learn to stay in the wound of pain and act with spontaneous skill and love even from that place. So what I got from this chapter is that vulnerability is much more productive. It's a much stronger emotion than being indifferent. You can act like you don't care when you get rejected, but especially for men, it's better to be open about these things, acknowledge that, and then move on. So vulnerability over indifference. Okay? That's a major key. Vulnerability over indifference. Chapter 3, live as if your father were dead. A man must love his father and yet be free of his father's expectations and criticisms in order to be a free man. I read another book. I talked about this on the podcast as well. First episode we did, Total Self-Confidence by Robert Anthony. And there's a chapter in there where they discuss where we get our limiting beliefs and low self-esteem. And the number one place we get our limiting beliefs and low self-esteem is from our parents, okay? And it's interesting that in the 3rd chapter of this book of being a superior man is that you have to get rid of the expectations of your father, okay? And you have to live life your own way. I read a quote that's by A.A. Rashid. It was, listen to your mother and learn from the lessons of your father, okay? So, and in Way of the Superior Man, he's literally saying, he said, live as if your father were dead. This has to do with getting rid of the expectations of your father or your parents or society. You know what I mean? Like, get rid of other people's expectations. And again, it's about living in your true purpose. Know your real edge and don't fake it. It is honorable for a man to admit his fears, resistance, and edge of practice. It is simply true that each man has his limit, his capacity for growth, and his destiny. But it is dishonorable for him to lie to himself or others about his real place. He shouldn't pretend he is more enlightened than he is, nor should he stop short of his actual edge. The more a man is playing his real edge, the more valuable he is as good company for other men. The more he can be trusted to be authentic and fully present. Where a man's edge is located is less important than whether he is actually living his edge in truth, rather than being lazy or deluded. So only you really know if you're giving it your all. You could be the best out there on the field, and you could still feel unfulfilled because you know you could give more. When you do give your all, even if you fall short, even if you come in last place, you feel a lot better about yourself when you know that you gave your all. It feels good to win. When winning comes so easily that it's not an actual challenge, then that's where a lot of men fall off and they lose the drive. This just reminds me about a later chapter where the author talks about how men respond to challenge versus women respond more to praise, okay? If you want to help a man improve, you challenge him. You give him a task. It's called rites of passage. In this culture today, we don't have any rites of passage. It used to be like you have to go out and you got to go fucking kill some shit, and then you become a man. You know what I'm saying? So people used to have rites of passage in different cultures. So we lose out on a lot of rites of passage, and it creates a very docile male. It's important to have challenge, okay? But it's also important that when you are faced with challenge, that you're really giving it your all and that you're not faking it. So all of this stuff is very intuitive. The cool thing is once you Once you hear this colorful language and you read a book and you hear it said a different way, it really resonates with you. And these are just snippets. These are literally just snippets right now. Chapter 5, always hold to your deepest realization. Eternity must be a man's home, moment by moment. Without it, he is lost, always striving, grasping at puffs of smoke. A man must do anything necessary to glimpse and then stabilize this ever fresh realization and organize his life around it. So all this means is get clear on what you want from your core and stand on it. Okay? Get clear on what you want deep inside your core and stand on it. If you don't know what you want, cut off the distractions, cut off the 2K, cut off the Instagram, cut off everything until it hits you. We have so much information coming at us these days from different directions. It could just be in the realm of getting money. You know what I mean? It doesn't even have to be with like changing the world. It's just like, okay, what should I do to get money? Oh, go do real estate, go do stocks, go get a job working for this person because this is the best, this is the formula, this is the best thing to do. We have so much different information coming at us that it becomes information overload, and we spread ourselves too thin and we jump from thing to thing, or we're doing something that doesn't really resonate with us, and then you end up feeling unfulfilled. The best way to go about and finding your true core and your true purpose, and if things really resonate with you, is to sit in silence, sit by yourself, turn off all the distractions, the television, Netflix, all that stuff, turn it off, and then just sit with yourself and then see what comes up. And if nothing comes up, sit for longer. And eventually, you're going to get deep down into your core, and we all have natural inclinations. You might be really good at basketball, but that may not be your true purpose. That might just be something that you got into because the culture told you to get into it. You might think that you want to be a rapper. You might think that you want to be a singer, whatever the case may be, but somebody else implanted that idea in your mind. So you got to really get rid of all these external ideas. That's really just getting rid of your ego, because all that stuff is ego. And then you get down to your true core, your true spirit, and then you see what comes out of that. And if that doesn't make you the most money in the world, that's fine. That's okay. Everything doesn't have to be monetized. But in this age, you can literally make money off of anything. So money is never a problem. It's never an issue. It's really doing stuff that resonates with you and stuff that you feel good about. We will do a part 2 of Way of the Superior Man, just discussing that. I can't say enough about this book. I got this book a few years ago. I was listening to The Breakfast Club, where our good brother Nipsey Hussle, he was on The Breakfast Club promoting his last album, Victory Lap. He said that his wife, Lauren London, put him onto this book. And you know me, I love books, I love reading. So anytime I hear somebody recommend a book, I jump right on it. So I got the ebook first, and this was so good. I've been reading over the years that I said I got to get the hard copy as well. So this is definitely highly recommended. I'm just looking on the back of the book right here. And Tony Robbins says the Way of the Superior Man lays out a challenge before all men to fulfill their true purpose and to be authentically masculine. It will guide you on your journey to a successful and spiritual complete way of life. Step up to the plate with this book in your hand. A lot of good people are saying good things about this book. It's highly recommended. If you want to make more money, if you want to get more women, if you want to understand women, you want to understand why women do the things they do, if you want to understand why you tick, why you do the things you do, highly recommend this book. And in this day and age, I think this is one of the most important books of 2019, of 2020. In this Me Too era, in this gender fluidity era, understanding what a man is. We're not talking about a super macho man. We're talking about a man that's in touch with his feelings and not afraid to express the masculinity, a man that's on his purpose, a man that's about his business, but also about his family, about his life. And there's so many different ways to express that. The book is Nothing is Wrong with however you express your masculine energy. There's nothing wrong with having multiple wives. There's nothing wrong with having one woman. At the end of the day, is that really you? Or did you get that from somebody else? Did you get that idea from somebody else in this society, in this age of information? Where did you get your ideas from? And this is just putting everything into context. So I definitely, again, highly recommend this book. You already know what it is. Infinite Reps Podcast. Go back and listen to the other episodes, and we'll be back.